Next we have Kwabi Amoah-Forson, who goes by the Peace Bus Man. And Kwabi, good to have you.
See how I...
There you go.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I first want to thank David Lambert for inviting me to the Spring Assembly. I'm excited to talk with you guys. My name is Kwabi Amoah-Forson, but I go by Kwabi, and I am the founder and creator of the Peace Bus. You may be wondering what that is. Well, I'm here to tell you guys about it and give like a background story about what that is and what we're doing. So the Peace Bus is an organization I created a year ago that is concerned with educating others and ourselves about what peace is, like what the concept of peace is in action, inside, and interpersonally. And so, but to even go further about how this all started, about 3 years ago, 2017, I was in grad school for business. And like many people at that age, and I was in my early 20s trying to figure out, what I wanted to do with my life and not feeling fulfilled, going through the motions. I'm in college, doing my thing, business, not really too much into it, but it's a degree, right? So I'm doing it. And I was challenged by a professor of mine, because I was kind of struggling in school, not really knowing a direction, to figure out what kind of person, like, who do I want to be? Not what, but who do I want to be? So I got by myself and thought to myself, who do I want to be in this world today? And I couldn't shake the idea of peace, like wanting to feel peace and wanting others to have a peaceful life. And so I started doing research. Granted, I knew about the peace advocates in the past, of course, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, people like this, James Lawson. But I was wondering who's doing that now? Like, what does that look like now? Prominent people that are in the limelight that are geared towards peace. And so I came across this guy named Brian Haw. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but if you haven't, look him up. It's Brian H-A-W. And he was a peace campaigner from London, England. What he did was he camped outside of Parliament Square in London, England, for 11 years, promoting goodwill towards men. He was actually, he was an activist towards the military sanctions that were happening in Iran and Iraq at the time. The UK and America were putting on the country, which was causing infanticide, starvation, things like that, which were hurting women and children. And so he was big on raising awareness towards that. And he ended up even dying out there. So I'm thinking in my mind, okay, so this guy, he's camping outside of Parliament Square for 11 years. The least I can do is, go to my local park and just start sparking the conversation of what peace means for people in my community. So here in Tacoma, I went to Wrights Park. I started going to Wrights Park, and I had these posters with me. I have them with me right here. They might be backwards on screen, but it says love, peace, and justice for all. The other one says, war is not the answer, say no to violence. And I would go out to Wrights Park every Saturday morning with my megaphone here, and I would do speeches. I would vocalize speeches from Gandhi and Martin Luther King, and people would come up to I call it the peace camp. So people would come up, and they ask me, what are you selling? And I say, well, I'm not selling anything. I'm just here to have a conversation with you about peace and what it means to you. And so that started, I thought it was adding to the atmosphere of the park. It's very, very tranquil, right? And so we'd have conversations, random people that live in the community. And I was doing that for a couple months. And then I got attacked by someone who is mentally ill, seeing me, what I was doing, maybe triggered something in his brain. And he ran up on my peace camp, kicked the table over, broke this actual megaphone. This doesn't work anymore, it's broken. He broke it. Tried ripping up my posters, things like that. And so I didn't present myself abrasively. I didn't clench my fists or act like I was going to hit him. So I think he sensed like this person is acting non-violently. it would be really horrible if I hit him. So he goes running off into the park. So it was a bad incident, of course, but it was good in the sense that it compelled me to not go to the park. So the next Saturday, I went out to the park again, and I was paranoid. And I was like, is this guy going to come at me? I don't know what's going to happen. But it compelled me to go to different parts of Tacoma. So I started taking my peace posters, and I started going to different parts of Tacoma, which led me to going to Portland, Vancouver, BC, Seattle, of course. And then I had a friend who was stationed, well, I went to San Francisco as well, but I had a friend who was stationed in the Netherlands. And he was like, hey, Kwab, why don't you come bring your peace posters and do the same thing that you've been doing in Seattle over here? And I thought to myself, well, I don't know. Like, I've never been out of the country. Like, and to leave the country and to do activism, like, I don't know about that. And I talked to my parents about it. My dad was like, you don't do it. Like, at the time, this is 2017, there had been some terrorist attacks that take place in London, England, as well as Belgium. And I was apprehensive, but I brought it anyway, thinking maybe I won't do it, but just in case. So I brought them, and when I hit Amsterdam, there was no question. Like, I'm in a new place. Wouldn't it be something to have the conversation about peace with people that I haven't had a contact with, people that are very unlike myself, different culture, everything. And so I did that. I went to Amsterdam, London. I went to Dublin, Ireland, Germany, Cologne, Germany, and Brussels, Belgium. Just having my posters and walking around having conversations with everyday people about peace and what it meant to be peaceful. And I got a bunch of different answers, of course. It's a very broad topic. But it was good because it funneled into my brain of different constants. Every other person, something the same would come up, right? So I'm educating myself on what the overarching premise of peace is. And so when I came back to the U.S., I was talking to one of my buddies who's a producer, a video producer, telling him about some of my travels. And he's like, hey, Kwab, why don't you do some videos? So I started doing some videos, just talking about what I've learned. I'm not I would say I'm not a expert on the field of peace, but I'm always open to learning. That's really what peace is really big on, is educating yourself and always learning and growing. And so I was doing that. And then I'm always doing research. I came across this guy named A.B. Nathan. If you guys haven't heard of that guy, you should look him up as well. He was an Israeli humanitarian. He was a pilot, and he flew an airplane from Tel Aviv, Israel, to Cairo, Egypt, to promote better relations between Arabs and Jews. And I was very inspired by this gentleman. In fact, so inspired, I started taking flight lessons to be the first person to circumnavigate the globe in promotion of world peace. I still want to be that person, but while taking flight lessons, going up there in the sky and realizing how expensive it is to do flight lessons. So I had to cut that short, but I still wanted to do peace campaigning with a vehicle. And that's how the Peace Bus was born. I thought, well, I have my driver's license. Why not buy a vehicle and have the Peace Bus put it on the side in bright letters, have it be a bright vehicle. So when driving in the community, the hope was that people would see it and think about peace and maybe research the peace movement, learn about what they can do to contribute to the community. And so I got that done. I bought a Mitsubishi van from Vashon Island for about $3,500. And it was with my income tax that I bought it. And I got it all, suited, had the Peace Bus on the side. It was bright. It's right here. Yeah, you guys see it. So basically, I bought it and started driving it around. I'm driving it around, and I realized, well, there's a big hole in the Peace Bus. There's a spot where there should be seats. And I thought, well, what if I could use this for local humanitarian aid? What if the Peace Bus could be a way to help those in need right here in Tacoma? So I thought, well, why not help those who are experiencing homelessness at the time? So in the spring of I believe it was 2019, this time last year, I started the sock drive with the Peace Bus, the first sock drive. So I raised about $500, not too much money, but took that $500 with a GoFundMe and went to Costco and bought the thickest, strongest socks I could find. That way, giving it to those who are experiencing homelessness, it can last long. I don't want to give them thin socks, they deserve to have something warm and comfortable out on the street. And so me and a few friends, we drove around, went to different congregate care facilities, different shelters, people on the street and supplied them with socks. And that was one of the most fulfilled things that in the beginning with the Peace Bus, which sort of honed in on the essence of what it was, what the organization was going to be about in the future. At the time, last year, there was a lot going on in the media about immigration, the immigration crisis, which is still ongoing today. And I was watching, I'm a normal citizen, I'm always constantly learning about peace and what it means. My outlets, as far as news is concerned, had to do with CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. That's what I'm watching. That's what I'm exposed to. That's what I see. So I'm watching all these different media outlets, and I'm trying to figure out where the truth lies. Like I don't really know what's going on, which the media kind of does a good job of confusing the public in general. So I thought to myself, well, what if I could take the Peace Bus down to the border of Mexico and interview San Diego Border Patrol about the immigration crisis, to get their ideas, those who are down at the front lines, to figure out what's really going on, which is a crazy thing to think. Like, why would the San Diego Border Patrol let some kids from Tacoma, Washington come down and interview them and video them? Like, that doesn't make sense. So I called San Diego Border Patrol. I asked, I was like, hey, my name's Kwabi. I work with this organization called the Peace Bus. We're concerned with humanizing each other, right? And having the conversation about peace with anyone and everyone. And they were like, yeah, you can't come down and interview us. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But we raised funds in order to take the trip. And then the goal was to go to all the major cities in California, in Portland, and give out socks and blankets to people in need in these major cities. And we got enough funds to do it, which is amazing. And we left in August of 2019 from Tacoma and drove. We stayed with host families, people who were fans of the Peace Bus, who didn't know us at all personally, but opened up their homes. That's really where a lot of the love came from on the trip, was being able to stay with people who opened up their homes. We had dinner, very heartfelt conversations with these people, with their families. It was really awesome. But we stayed in San Francisco and LA, these places, and gave out socks to people in need. And when we got to LA, my buddy Kevin was like, hey, you should call the San Diego Border Patrol, just see what they have to say. And so I called them and I was like, hey, me and my peace crew, we're down here in LA. We're almost in San Diego. We were wondering if we could interview you guys. And they're like, you definitely can't. There's so much in the media going on about, the atrocities that are happening here. We just can't. It's a liability. We can't. And so I was like, okay. And then they were like, wait a minute. What is your guys' agenda? And I was like, hey, dude, I just want to have a conversation. And so what we did was, they wanted to see the Peace Bus. So I emailed them our website, and they called me back and they're like, okay, we want to just see the bus. And so when we got to San Diego, we went to the San Diego Border Patrol headquarters, and two of the officers came out. They looked at the bus and they're like, you guys really came from Tacoma? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, okay, we're going to let you ride with us on patrol. And so while in the patrol car off the border of Mexico, I had my phone out, right? I wasn't recording, but I had it out, and I asked one of the officers, can I ask you questions? He looked at the phone. I think he thought I was already recording, which I wasn't, but he said, sure, ask us any questions. If we don't want to answer the question, we'll let you know, but don't harp on it. Don't keep on asking us if we don't want to answer the question. I was like, fine. So we asked them all the questions we thought people up here wanted the answers to, and recorded most of it, what they would let us record. And it was a very interesting conversation that we had, and we uploaded it all on our website. If you want to check out what the San Diego Border Patrol had to say about the immigration crisis, it's all on www.thepeacebus.org. It's all there at the bottom of the page, recorded. A lot of insightful stuff that was said. Yeah, so that happened. That really happened. And then when we came back home, the news media locally went on a frenzy, and they were like, how did this happen? We want to know what the Peace Bus is all about. And that's sort of how the media traction happened with the Peace Bus. And I used that traction in order to promote peace, to have the conversation with peace with our community. Use that traction in order to connect with local schools in the Tacoma area. And that's where the Peace Bus and I started going to local schools, talking to kids about nonviolence, of course, the trip to the border, but how they can use interpersonal connectivity to create peace And so I had this thing called the Peace Bus. Peace Ball. This is the Peace Ball. Looks like a beach ball, but we call it the Peace Ball. And basically, I go to classrooms, and we pass it around the classroom, and a kid will catch it, right? And we'll have a question related to peace. And so let's see. This one says, how can I show teamwork? And so the kid will read it, how can I show teamwork? And they'll try to answer it. And sooner or later, we start sparking a conversation with the entire classroom about peace and things that are related to peace. We got, okay, what is nonviolence? What a big question to ask a kid, but oftentimes they have so many insightful things to say. So I started doing that. And then in December, the city council passed an ordinance of banning tents in local parks here in Tacoma. And so it went into effect in December. And I thought to myself, well, the Peace Bus being a local humanitarian aid organization, what can we do to help? I'm not involved in government. I'm not a politician, but how can I help with my business? And so we did another sock drive, raising, I believe it was over $1,000. And we bought as many socks as we could for those who were being displaced in the parks and other people who were experiencing homelessness in Tacoma. And we gave them out. The goal was by Christmas that every single person in Tacoma would have a warm pair of socks, at least a warm pair of socks for Christmas. And we felt like we accomplished that goal. And then during that time, King 5 News and some other news media outlets, they reached out to me. Some of the people involved in the news were asking me, well, what's the next step for the Peace Bus? And I said I'd been going to local schools talking to kids about nonviolence. And they were like, well, have you ever thought about the Peace Bus being geared more towards kids, like a TV show? And I was like, no, I haven't thought about that. But now that you bring it up, maybe I can work something out. And they're like, well, if you come up with some sort of curriculum, something, let us know. We'll look over it. Maybe we'll help back you if you want to put this on television. And so I wrote the script of the Peace Bus show, kids show. And basically what the show is, it's a kid-friendly show trying to educate kids on the aspects of mass incarceration, homelessness, poverty, hunger, and how they can help with the environment. It involves puppets. I wish I had some of my puppets with me right now, but it involves puppets. It's kind of a crossbreed between Sesame Street, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and maybe Mr. Rogers. And so I wrote the script. My friend is a director. I linked up with him, read him the script. He said it was phenomenal, and we hit the ground running. I started creating this show, The Peace Bus with Kwabi. And for the season of winter, we filmed the pilot episode. And then in March, we were gonna have the premiere, the 30-minute premiere we were gonna have at the Blue Mouse Theater and invite the whole community to come out and see it for free. We're gonna give out t-shirts, give out stickers, and have the whole shebang. And that's when COVID hit, right? And so obviously we had to cancel. The biggest concern was to make sure that kids are safe, so we just didn't want to risk it. So we canceled it. And the weekend that I canceled the Peace Bus premiere, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, how can I help? And I wasn't sure what to do. And I was scrolling on the News Tribune website, and I saw an article that was saying that some parents that rely on the schools for breakfast and lunch for their kids aren't able to get to the designated areas where the schools are supplying breakfast and lunch because schools have been closed due to the coronavirus. So I thought, okay, well, not all the kids can get to the areas where they're supplying food. What if I could take food to those families in need who can't get to the areas, right? And so my first idea was like, okay, maybe I could get a Lunchable or something like that to deliver to these families. But I don't have the permits. I don't have the permits to transfer food like that. I'm not a restaurant. But I did do enough research to realize I can transfer non-perishable items like cereal and oatmeal. And that's how the Peace Bus Breakfast Fund was started. It happened really quickly. It was overnight. I thought of it. I went to my brother's house. He took some pictures of me holding cereal and things. This right here, this photo right here. And yeah, I announced it the next day, and it blew up. A lot of donations came in, helping fund buying cereal for families that are in need. And I began driving every morning from about 7:30 to 10:30 around Tacoma, delivering cereal and breakfast to families that wouldn't otherwise be able to get it because schools are closed. And as of now, I've delivered cereal to 200 families in the Tacoma community in the span of about a month and a half. The first 2 weeks were heavy. Like 2 weeks was 130 folks. And now since we've been in quarantine for so long, I'm replenishing those families who I delivered already and they're running out. So I'm going back to their houses and replenishing them with more breakfast. And then as that's going on, I thought, well, what about the kids that, they're not in school? They're trying to find things to do. Mine's running. What can I do to help them so when they're at home, they're not bored, or, something to get them out of their something constructive, right? And that's when I was, these ideas were bubbling up. I didn't really know how to implement that. And that's when I got a fan letter for the Peace Bus from this kid named Luke, right? His mom ran a podcast and I had shared with them my personal address. And so Luke sent me this letter unknowingly, and I opened it and it says to Kwabi. It's right here. To Kwabi. Things I'm doing to make peace, not fight. Random acts of kindness, sharing my feelings, love, Luke. And I was inspired by Luke, who's an amazing individual, to think that an 8-year-old child would have peace on his mind. How can he connect with others non-violently? How can he think about peace in his home and help others in his community? And so that's when I thought about having Dear Kwabi letters, extending the idea of inviting kids, kindergarten to 12th grade, to send me letters about what they're doing in their homes and in their community to create peace. And so I announced that on social media and on the internet, and sure enough, letters have been coming in from all over the country, really. Just kids talking to me about what they're doing in their lives to create peace. And that's where I'm at right now with the Peace Bus. Basically, it's just, I'm concerned with educating myself and others about what it means to live a peaceful life. When I was on New Day with Margaret Larson, which is a King 5 show, she had asked me in my travels, what are the constants? You always are talking about, when you interview people about peace and what it means, what are the themes you've been hearing? And the major thing that I've been hearing is that peace, what it looks like in our society, is having every single person have the opportunity to have food, clothes, and shelter, right? This is a basis of a society to thrive, and so that people can pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to have those essential needs met. And so, as far as now that it's concerned with me, as far as educating others on what that means holistically with peace at a societal basis, food, clothes, and shelter, I'm safe to say is a good basis. That's basically the gist of the Peace Bus. I am open to questions. I love questions.
I'm really taken by your energy, Kwabi, your creativity and follow through. That's wonderful.
Thanks, David.
And,
Thank you.
we have some questions here. Comments too. Let's see. Let me see here. Well, Marty, my wife says, show your GoFundMe page.
Oh yeah. Yes. If you go to the website, if you go to the peacebus.org, our GoFundMe, if you click on donate, it goes directly to our GoFundMe. So the peacebus.org, scroll down a little bit, it will say donate. You click that button and you'll be able to donate to the GoFundMe.
Thank you.
No problem.
Let's see. Here's one. How did you discover which families were in need?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So I had and this is still ongoing. So the number, I posted my number on social media for the Peace Bus is 253-204-7227. And I had families text me. So what they would do is they text me saying, hey, I'm Jane Doe. I live in Tacoma, and I heard that you're giving out breakfast for families in need. I asked them what their family size is, how many kids. They let me know how many kids and their address, and I deliver cereal to them. I don't know. As far as like a checks and balances of trying to figure out where they lie on the line of destitution, I'm not big on that. Those who need it, I deliver, give it to them, just under the faith that they are telling the truth. And it's been an amazing experience to be able to serve my community in that way.
Great. Let's see. Is the Peace Bus show for kids available online?
Okay, so that's the thing. So no, not yet. I wanted to do a premiere to invite the community. It's a community show. People of Tacoma raised funds for this show, for this pilot episode to happen. And I think I want to give more. I want to give them T-shirts and give them stickers. Just give back. You know, they gave to me and allowing this show to happen. I think depending on how the quarantine goes and how COVID goes, I might just upload it online so that they can see it from there. But the idea of the Peace Bus and peace in general is to bring folks together. And I'd like to do that in a harmonious gesture of having bodies together to watch this show. That's the goal, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, okay. And let's see. Let me see. There was a comment somebody made. Let me see if I can find it. Well, one person said that they said, what an inspiration you are.
Oh,
keep up the
thanks,
good work.
thanks. I appreciate it, man. It's definitely something that's in the heart for myself. Once I found out that I wanted to do peace campaigning, because honestly, you know, I'm a businessman. I'm a business major. That's what I went to school for. And so I thought to myself, well, and from a marketing perspective, why do we know about Coca-Cola? We know about Coca-Cola because it's advertised, it's everywhere. Now, why can't we do the same thing about peace and understanding? The reason why people don't know a lot about the activism going on in our community is because it's not publicized enough. How can we make it in a way so we can learn in the masses about how we can get along? And that's through a structure of education, of marketing, and that's what the Peace Bus is doing. We are putting a ribbon around peace and sharing it with the world.
Wonderful. You're a salesperson for peace and justice.
Correct.
I want to share with all the people here that Kwabi and I are co-workers, we're colleagues, and people really think highly of him, and they really love what he's doing.
I appreciate that, David. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be able to work with you, man. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, let's see. I think, here's one. Have other people asked about starting their own Peace Bus? And is it a full-time commitment?
No one's really asked me, I know that there's other Peace Buses out there. The Peace Bus is an organization though, which is sort of separates it from the idea of being like, you know, sort of like a friendly van that's just driving around promoting peace, which is awesome. I think that people, if they want to do that, that's awesome. Full-time commitment, it is. I'm basically working 2 jobs. I'm running the Peace Bus organization while also being a mental health counselor. And having to balance that out has been tricky. But I think coming up close, maybe the next 2 years or so, I think I'll be able to do this full-time and be able to promote peace. One of my main goals, I still want to do the circumnavigation trip around the world, the promotion of world peace, to really raise awareness towards poverty. I think that raising awareness towards the statistics, the horrible statistics of poverty is something that we should all know and get ingrained in our minds so we can move forward as far as supplying those, everyone, this entire world with food, clothes, and shelter. I believe that creating that basis is where we're gonna go about creating peace on a world scale. And also getting people that think in polarized ways, people who, Republican, Democrat, people who think differently, to get them in the same space to have a conversation with the underlying premise of being peace. How can we get along? How can we go about creating change on a global scale if we can't sit together? Gotta be able to sit together.
Sounds great. Thank you again, Kwabi. Appreciate
No
it.
problem. Yeah.